At an art gallery opening, Julian was engaged in a heated discussion with the beautiful art critic Rachel. Sofia watched from across the room, feeling a pang of jealousy as Julian laughed and touched Rachel's arm. Sofia tried to brush off the feeling, but it only intensified as she saw Julian hand Rachel his business card. She felt a surge of possessiveness, wondering if Julian was interested in the critic. As Sofia made her way through the crowd, she overheard Rachel flirting shamelessly with Julian. Sofia's eyes narrowed, her heart racing with a mix of anger and jealousy. Just then, Julian excused himself as soon as he sighted Sofia, and made his way to Sofia's side.
Hey, what's wrong?
He asked, noticing her tense expression. Sofia tried to play it cool, but Julian saw right through her.
You're jealous,
he whispered, a sly smile spreading across his face. Sofia's cheeks flushed, but she denied it abruptly.
I have no idea what you talk about,
she refuted. Julian's smile grew wider.
Don't worry, Sofia. I'm only interested in one woman's critique,
he said, his eyes locked on hers. But Sofia's mind kept wandering to the way Julian's eyes crinkled when he smiled. Julian gently held her by the waist and asked,
Have you had enough of the gala yet? Nothing would make my day more perfect than taking a beautiful lady in a green gown to a candlelit dinner. Just the two of us.
Sofia felt a surge of happiness, but tried hard to conceal it. Clearing her throat, she asked,
Are you asking me out on a date?
Julian smiled warmly and replied,
Yes, Sofia, I'm asking you out on a date. Would you spend a few hours with me this evening?
Sofia's smile widened as she responded.
I feel starved already.
They both laughed, their joy evident. As they turned to leave the gala, a voice called out,
Julian.
Ruby Singh's voice cut through the crowd. Julian turned and saw Ruby.
Ruby,
he exclaimed, his face lighting up. Unconsciously, Julian withdrew his hand from Sofia's waist and hurried towards Ruby. His admiration and reverence for Ruby made Sofia's stomach knot jealousy. Without thinking, she turned and left the art gala, denying Julian the chance to introduce Ruby to her. She felt her perfect night had been ruined by Ruby herself. Sofia knew she wanted to make Julian hers. She wanted to be the one he turned to, the one he trusted, and the one he loved. The next day, in Sofia's art studio, she hovered around Julian, desperate for his unwavering attention. But Julian was engrossed in his work, determined to finish the task at hand. Sofia longed for his gaze, a meaningful conversation, or even a slight touch. She devised a plan to capture his attention. Approaching him, she tried to engage him in conversation, but Julian quickly disconnected, refocusing on his work. Feeling her scheme was failing, Sofia refused to give up. She subtly knocked over Julian's art tools, causing paint to splatter across his canvas. She quickly apologized, using her handkerchief to clean the paint from Julian's face, her eyes tender and apologetic. Julian took the handkerchief from her and cleaned himself off. This angered Sofia slightly, as Julian immediately returned to his work, ignoring the mess she had created. Determined, Sofia decided to play her trump card. She would fall into his arms if it meant getting him to look at her lovingly, even for a few seconds. She wanted to make it clear that she was in love with him, and that his feelings were not one-sided. As planned, Sofia's body fell into Julian's arms, her eyes locking onto his, with a hint of mischief.
Oh dear, I'm so clumsy,
she exclaimed, her voice dripping with insincerity. Julian's gaze narrowed, his eyes burning with intensity.
Don't play games with me, Sofia,
he whispered, his voice low and husky.
That was no accident. You've been trying to get my attention all day.
Sofia's smile faltered, her eyes flashing with surprise.
I don't know what you're talking about,
she stammered. Julian's arms tightened around her, his lips inches from hers.
Don't lie to me, Sofia. I see right through you, and I'm not going to let this opportunity slip away,
he said, his voice filled with determination. With that, Julian's lips crashed down on Sofia's, his kiss fierce and passionate. Sofia's heart raced as she realized she had underestimated Julian's ability to see through her facade. She was trapped in his arms, unable to escape the intensity of his emotions. Just then, Ruby Singh, a former classmate of Julian from art school, strode into the studio with an air of entitlement. Her eyes scanned the room, finally landing on Julian's latest sculpture. A smile spread across her face like a cat claiming its prey.
This is stunning. It must belong to Julian. Oh, yes, he is a genius indeed,
she exclaimed, her voice dripping with insincerity. The sound of her voice shattered the passionate moment between Sofia and Julian. As they reluctantly parted, Julian rushed over to Ruby, a heavy smile plastered on his face.
You kept your promise,
he said, his voice tinged with a mix of surprise and relief. Ruby's smile widened, but her eyes remained cold.
I sure did. As an art collector, it would be a significant loss to disappoint a renowned artist such as yourself. Now wouldn't it?
Julian beamed with pride, completely oblivious to Ruby's true intentions.
You flatter me,
he said, his smile stretching from ear to ear. Sofia watched the exchange, her heart pounding with a mix of jealousy and suspicion. She couldn't shake the feeling that Ruby's presence was more than just a casual visit. The tension in the room thickened, each word and glance charged with unspoken emotions.